Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the farm. I think it's safe to say that harvest season is here. We've got a couple more fields of soybeans that we're eyeing down right now to possibly cut today. I'm 95% certain that they will test when the time is right. However, it's been a pretty gloomy morning so far. The sun is just now poking through the clouds. A few hours of that solar radiation and our soybeans should dry out enough that we can cut them at the optimal moisture. We don't quite have the wiggle room today that we had yesterday because we're going to be taking them through the elevator, not a bin, so we really don't want them to be above 14%. It'll cost us money in terms of dockage, drying, shrink, all that. We want to hit that 13.5 or lower mark. Who knows, by the end of the day, they may be 9%. They may be 11% right now and we just don't know it. The dew on the ground makes me think differently. But we're gonna get started today. Everyone make sure you hit that like button and leave a comment down below. It is one of the cheapest and easiest ways that you can support the channel. If this video gets 5,000 likes, yes, 5000, I will put together a farm equipment tour for this fall. Everyone do your part, hit that like button, and do me a favor also and leave a comment down below. Let's get to work. If we are able to harvest this field of soybeans today, we're going to have both combines going as opposed to just one like we did yesterday. Dad is moving right now. I'm gonna take the head. We're gonna cut a sample, see what kind of moisture they're at, or we'll at least be ready here in the next few hours to cut a sample. Everyone make sure you stick around. I'll probably have the drone up today and have some awesome footage. Multi-million-dollar farming operation, and this is the best hitch pin I can get my hands on. Poor people have poor ways, as they say. These all-wheel steer head carts are squirrely little things. I don't know if we need to align the steering or what, but I didn't get over 30 miles an hour. And I think I was scaring everyone I met because it was just zigzagging its way behind me. First try, wow. I guess it is Friday. Everything's supposed to go smoother then. The reason we hooked the draper up here on the filter strip is because the farm we're headed to, which is just down the grass lane, about a half mile to the east. The other entrance butts up to Route 45, and 2 years ago, that is where my dad had his notorious FedEx truck run in. And I think he was a little more timid this year about hooking up on a super highway. So he's doing it here in the peace and quiet of our own farm. I don't quite see any FedEx trucks back here, but stranger things have happened. I told him next time, it's only fair he has to do it to a UPS truck. Not exactly a fan of our Bluetooth safety chain here. I'm gonna have to find a chain. Safety chains are important. Didn't break any sickles on the first field. That's a good start to the year. We haven't even looked at the bean field yet that we're hoping to cut. It's the same variety that we cut yesterday, so we're fairly certain it's going to be dry enough. But when you have this much dew on the ground, you know the bean plants are going to be wet as well. Until the sun gets that off, there's no chance we'll cut them.
A loose hose. Need to tie that up. You see anything else that's wrong? Not on that side?
No.
We'll look on the other side.
Only cut for 3 or 4 hours here. I got a bunch of bean dust down in there.
That hose getting towards the shaft.
Dude, I think there's a cover.
Dang it. They need to be tied over.
Oh, there goes Dad's phone.
Okay. Leave that open. That one, never mind. I found it.
We're getting all of our ducks in a row. That way when it does dry up, we're ready to cut. Jeff's taking the 630 FD down to that field, and I'm taking the S670. Moving some more. I'll be a decent operator today. Ladder's in. Park brake off. Road gear, full speed. We're ready to hit the road. Oh great, Bill's working on his waterway again. Every time he moves any dirt out there, we get a 4-inch rain within the next 2 weeks. High pressure fuel pump pressure control valve fault. Fuel rail pressure fault. Well, that does not sound good. Wide open road for me today. I love it. You can never complain about not meeting traffic or having anyone follow you. This is why we picked that corn the other day. Because if we hadn't and we took the combines down the lane, we probably would have ran over 2 rows on either side. Then we wanted to see how our corn was testing. Oh, bridge anxiety. Oh. Nice and easy. If I fall through, hopefully I total the combine. Oh man. Cross that bridge probably 50 times in equipment. It's never gotten any less stressful. See if we can get this picked up in the first try. My dad did it with the 35-foot dripper. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to do it with this. We'll call that 1.5 tries, which we round down on this operation, so that was 1 try. I guess I have to follow the one rule of farming: always park your equipment for a good Instagram picture, and that's in a row. I'm not really knowledgeable enough in mechanics to know whether or not this error code we got, high pressure fuel pump pressure control valve fault, is something I need to be concerned about. So I'm going to call the shop foreman here at Alliance Tractor and ask him. Hey, on our S670, I was taking down the road and I got a fault for a high pressure fuel pump pressure control valve fault. It's a fuel rail pressure fault. Is that something we need to be concerned about, or?
Probably so. Is it still flashing or anything at you, or did it go away?
It's still on the message center. The combine's still giving me the information flat, like the eye, you know, up on the dashboard almost flashed, but it never told me to stop or anything.
You may be fine, but it's eventually going to run into a problem.
Okay, a bad problem, or?
The fuel pump on there maybe going bad. You know, maybe something like that. Is there a direct code with it?
ECU 1347.07. All right. If our beans are dry enough to cut, we can go ahead and cut with it.
I would say so, yeah. I'll look this up and give you a call right back.
All right, thanks, Chris. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but guys, John Deere service is the best in the world, and it's very valuable to have a very good relationship with the service department at your local dealership. Of course, we hope it's a non-issue, but anything could be possible. Okay, looks good to me. Time to wait for the beans to dry. Let's see how good these Midland radios are. You guys hear me? I'm just leaving the big house. Wow, that's impressive range. Like 4 or 5 miles, not a clear line of sight either. 40-watt radio getting it done for Midland. Check them out. I don't even have the powerful antenna on. Just wait till I get that thing out there, then I'll be talking to them all the way from outer space. It's always nice to have multiple entrances to a farm, except for the combines did that. That's why we can't have anything nice, Dad. We make a mess of it. It looks like my only option to get into that combine is to go all the way around. They could have cut the ends off for me. I wouldn't expect the combine operators to do anything convenient for the grain cart driver, though. That would just be too simple. I've done next to nothing and I'm already regenning. You gotta love those interim tier 4 engines. For the sake of the environment, they say. Well, folks, we really tried to hit the ground running with soybean harvest, and unfortunately, we kind of trip and fell the minute our feet hit the ground. We had a couple problems going on, which is predictable. I guess I shouldn't have expected any different. First and foremost, Dad thinks that the moisture meter on his S780 may be a tad bit low. He thinks these beans are wetter than what they're testing based on the amount of butter beans or very wet, mushy beans in the grain tank. If the combine is showing 13% moisture, which is what we're shooting for, and these beans are actually 15%, that's not very good for us financially, because when you take them to the elevator, you really lose a lot off the top end if you have to pay for shrink, drying, all of that jazz. Never pays to take high moisture beans to the elevator. We try to avoid that as much as possible. Secondly, the error code that I mentioned earlier with the S670, talked to the shop foreman at Alliance Tractor here in Mattoon. He was a lot of help. He said that most likely means that our high pressure fuel pump is on the verge of quitting. Maybe the next few hours, could be the next few days, could be months. Regardless though, won't cause any damage if it quits. It'll just need replaced. The combine will shut down immediately, which presents the biggest issue. If the combine shuts down at full capacity, harvesting high yielding soybeans, it's almost guaranteed to completely plug the rotor, all of the threshing, which would not be good. I've unplugged a few combines in my day, and let's just say it's not fun. Fortunately, they've already got a service tech out here checking it over, so he should have an answer for that pretty quick. He can run some tests, see if the fuel pump's going bad or maybe something else is going on. We'll replace that if that's the issue. If not, we'll keep running. That is, of course, if the bean's verified to be the moisture we want to harvest. And our third problem, which isn't really a problem, more of a hiccup or a setback or an obstacle, is that Katie plugged the draper on that S670 within 15 minutes behind the steering wheel. I don't know if Guinness has a world record for how fast you can do that, but Katie would probably be up there. At this point, I think it might be her because it always happens to her combine. That or that 630 FD she has still has some gremlins. The boss is going to manually take a small sample of soybeans to the elevator to verify whether or not the moisture is where we think it is. If it is, we'll probably have the green light. What'd those beans end up testing at the elevator?
13.3 up there in the north end for my sample.
So we're just gonna go ahead and keep cutting them?
That's my plan, go from here north.
Sounds good. The moisture number is where we wanted it to be, so we've got the green light to start both combines. We're going to cut this field. The S670 has been troubleshooted. They're going to replace the fuel pump in the morning. Hopefully between now and then it doesn't go out and plug the combine when it quits. Other than that though, we're going to put the hammer down here, get this done. The field we're about to cut was one of our best fields of corn last year. I think it made right around 250. We're going to hop in with the S780 and see what the instant yield is. I've got high hopes for these to be 80 plus bushel beans. Not too shabby here on the west end of the farm, running 80 to 90. Drainage helps. Cutting some high yielding beans and unloading at the same time. I think that's where that S780 shines. Although it's sucking down the fuel right now, 24, 25 gallons an hour. That'll empty that 330 gallon tank pretty quickly. I'm a man of my word. You know what time it is. We've made tremendous progress on this field of soybeans. We've cut almost a majority of the main field. We had to leave a little tiny strip on the south end that was too wet. The first semi-load that we pulled off this farm was definitely too wet to take the elevator, so we ended up putting it in our grain bin. That's one of the nice things about having an auger set up to a bean bin at all times. Now everything else we've taken to the elevator, the moisture's coming at 13.5 to maybe 14, so we are above that 13.5% mark that we want, but 0.5%'s not that big of a deal. We just didn't want to be bringing in 15 or 16% beans. As I'd expected, this is going to be one of our better fields of beans. We're running in the 80 to 90 bushel range. It helps that there's a lot of slope so the water gets off of this farm. That's a big reason why we grew such a successful corn crop here last year. Even with all the July rains we had, which is similar to this year, the water is able to get off, but it's also productive dark soil, or at least the South 60. So we could get away with not much rain at times, and we could also handle a lot of rain at times. It's exactly what you need when you have very wet climate or very wet growing seasons. Nice and easy across the ditch. Don't want to do anything too rash. Don't want to spill a half load of soybeans on the ground and flip the grain cart, because that would be expensive. No such thing as moderation for Dad. He only decides to dump once he's about to spill beans over the top. Although he doesn't have any grain on the cab yet. I think corn harvest will change that very quickly. There's a sickle breaker. Closely following a combine down a one-way street is usually a recipe for a new unloading auger. So I try to keep my distance. Don't want to spook the boss. Sigh. Need a rock box on this tractor because I do not get paid enough to be lifting these things. Oh, about to lose it. All the way into the cab. Oh gosh, that was a heavy one. All right, listen here, Rock. The #1 rule of being my passenger is you're not allowed to complain, so I don't want to hear anything. I had enough of this rocks. Crap. At the beginning of every harvest season, I like to make somewhat of an effort to verify how accurate the grain cart is. So I kept track of our first 4 loads, 2 loads on the 10-wheeler with Chris, 2 loads on the semi with Jeff. I've got my card numbers here, got my actual numbers here based on the scale weights at the elevator, and I was about roughly a % over every time. Our weighted average was 1.115% too high, so I'm going to have to adjust my calibration number on the monitor for that. 1% error in weight is definitely acceptable for what we do. It does amount to some money though. 1% on an 800 bushel load of soybeans is 8 bushel. 8 bushel at $12 is almost $100. That's $100 a load error. At current prices, that 800 bushel load of beans right there is worth about $10,000. So just a little percentage, but it's nice to be as accurate as possible. Well, unfortunately, the moisture finally caught up to us. These beans are getting too wet to harvest on the north side of this field. They're running 15 to 16%, and we can't find enough dry beans to offset them in the truck. So we're gonna have to pull the plug. We're going to load Chris's 10-wheeler one more time. I was somehow tasked with climbing up in the combine to shut it off because it's cooled off, but that's what's gonna happen. We can't really complain too much because these beans are yielding extremely well here on the high light ground. They're just wet because they're on the light ground, like I've said the last couple days. Dark ground dries faster. I've got about 150 bushels on the cart. I'm estimating that she's got 350 or 400 bushels of beans. I don't quite think that's going to be enough to load the 10-wheeler. A little update on the S670 there. The mechanic found that the fuel pump was going bad. They're gonna fix it tomorrow as opposed to making him come out here. Our John Deere dealership is just about 3 miles up the road to the north. We're gonna take the combine in, that way they can do it with their own tools and get done with no problem. I've evacuated all my belongings from the tractor. Guess it's time to pull the plug on this operation for the day. Back safe and sound at home base. Other than a few minor problems, it was a decent attempt at hitting our first full speed day of harvesting. It ended up being more of a half speed day of harvesting by the time we had equipment breakdowns, calibration issues with the drapers, all that other stuff. You really can't do much about the wet beans. When the crop is too wet, the risk to reward of cutting them is just not there. We had to kind of let off the pedal a little bit, which isn't a big deal. We're still very early in harvest season, so we've got plenty of time to wait. There's a little bit of rain in the forecast tonight. It wouldn't be the worst thing to happen. It's not necessarily going to speed up our beans anymore on that farm, but all of our other beans around could really use a rain to knock off a few more of those dead leaves. Regardless though, it's only about 4 o'clock, which is way too early to be quitting for harvest season. It does work out perfectly though, because we do have a very busy weekend ahead of us. The younger of my 2 oldest sisters is getting married tomorrow on Saturday, so we have a dress rehearsal tonight, which would have been hard to show up to on time, or at least clean, if we had to cut farther into the evening. That works out perfectly, so you're probably not going to see me until Sunday, if not Monday, because a lot of family stuff going on, and although harvest season is a strange time to plan a wedding, we always make time for family. So everyone, that's going to be it for the video. It was more than enough farming. I appreciate you all tuning in. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!